Welcome to the New Mom Talk podcast, your go-to podcast for evidence-based answers to your burning questions about parenting. Join us as we dive into commonly Googled topics and hear from experts and real moms. Let's navigate parenthood together, one question at a time. Hello, everyone. Today, we are going to talk about that postpartum stage of essentially how to feel empowered, energized, and back in control of our bodies, which I think is a very big topic for moms during that first postpartum year, really, right? You are in a different body, you're healing, you're recovering, your weight and everything is fluctuating. So it's really about how do you get to feel like yourself again in this new person that you have become? So for that, we have Hennie Ng with us.
Thank you so much for having me, Mariella. Yeah, I'm Hennie. I am a physical therapist from BC, Canada, and also a pelvic health coach. And personally, I am also a mom of two. My son is 12 years old and my daughter is 6 years old. And the reason why I'm here is also stemming from my own postpartum or healing journey, and not so much about what I study. Even though I am a physical therapist, I study pelvic health. It is really coming from my personal experience, and while living in it as a professional working mom, I feel especially passionate about postpartum healing and pelvic health. So I help moms overcome leaking bladders, pain, and weakened core strength so then they can feel stronger in their body, more confident and ease in their bodies again. And my approach is holistic, addressing not just the physical challenge, but also emotional, nervous system, and that comes on with motherhood. So in the online space, I guide women through gentle movement, evidence-based strategy that nourish us and help support us in our mindset shift to reclaim our and vitality.
I love that. Well, thank you for that introduction. So let's go ahead and jump straight into it. We talk about, being in control of really a lot of things, but in this case, let's talk about our bodies. Like, how can we get back to feeling like we're in control of our body in that postpartum stage, and how can moms really shift with that transition and accepting we're not who we were before we became a mom, so let's figure out this new person.
Yeah, so a lot of mom, especially new mom, they think that after giving birth, they have to be back to themselves. And in order to feel back in control, and they want to be back to their pre-pregnancy status. But I really want to bust that myth that most people have, that they need to be back to normal or back to their usual status ASAP. Really, as a new mom, that's really the mindset that we have to change, because we have done the most amazing job of going through 9 months of pregnancy, delivering the most beautiful baby. We have to know that we are also a new baby. After giving birth to a baby, we have to treat ourselves with care and tender as well. And we, instead of having mindset or pressure to be judged by the society, that that we have to be strong on the outside, or that we have to carry everything, we have to carry all the responsibility. Instead of having that, it is really important for new moms to have changed the mindset, to have the curiosity and self-compassion for themselves, and really dig deeper into thinking or reflecting on where they're at in this special time or stage of life, and really going back into honoring themselves and knowing who they are in this new journey. And it's a celebration, and it's also a new thinking for their health and wellness, because most people, they can actually take advantage of this most vulnerable time to really have the best health that they can be for the next many years of their life. So I would encourage all the new moms out there to ask themselves the question, how can I support my body today instead of saying, why am I not sleeping? Why is my body failing me? So just simple mindset, simple questions to ask, and simple affirmation that we can have that will be able to help us feel better and set us up for healing and feeling confidence and reclaiming our health.
I love that you mentioned like this idea that, we need to be back in control and like bouncing back and getting back into our pre-pregnancy weight, that it's just kind of like something that we need to just set aside and transition to this new person that we are, and learning about that person. So that said, how do like the hormonal changes, the sleep deprivation, that how do all of those and recovery impact your energy levels after birth, and what realistic steps can help restore vitality?
Yeah, after birth, your hormone is still changing, your hormone is still adjusting, and you may be breastfeeding too. So that really takes a long time for your hormones to be adjusted and back to being regulated. Most moms are also struggling with interrupted sleep, and the recovery process all contribute to like brain fog, fatigue, or low motivation or low energy. So really, in order to restore our energy, restore our vitality, focus on the small steps and be consistent with it, and trying to prioritize short duration of restorative practice or rest whenever possible, and try to cut things into small pieces. And we don't have to have 1 hour or two just for ourselves, but instead the 10 minutes here and there would make a significant difference. Also, nourish our body with balanced meal that support hormones and blood sugar. That is very important. And keep small, little, gentle movement, and keep our circulation going and endorphins flowing. Start small and don't sometimes when we focus on the small habits that we have, over time it will give us the benefit and the change that we wanted to see. Instead of having a big unrealistic goal, trying to focus going back to the basic, back to the small steps that will make a huge difference.
So, with all of that, let's go over to movement, nourishment, and rest. What do those three have to do with rebuilding strength and confidence during this postpartum stage without feeling the pressure from outside or feeling the need to compare ourselves from who we were before we had a baby?
Yeah, so that is also that question, right? Question about most moms, they want to go back to the gym ASAP. They want to do the workout ASAP. So really physical therapy is what bridge the gap and have them sail through that journey safely. And instead of jumping right in it and putting themselves at risk of hurting or at risk of overdoing or at risk of overtraining without the proper healing and rehab. So that's why the physical therapy exists and is important as a bridge so that they can go back to activities that they enjoy and going back to exercise and doing what they love, no matter what it is. It could be going to the gym, or it could be doing any like more high impact activities. But just again, focusing on that, building that bridge is very important. So I would focus on that as a foundation for postpartum recovery. Focus on gentle, intentional movement and strengthen muscles, and try to improve your body's awareness and nourish your body with real food that supports energy, hormones, and healing tissue. Yeah, just I want also to focus more on the down training, which is the nervous system reset and the emotional support that mom deserve to receive. So a lot of those are missing especially in our society. We are being pressured and pushed to be multitask. And a lot of those nourishment that we deserve are actually missing. So I would really prioritize that and really to find your bridge. If you feel like this is something that you are missing, I am more than happy to connect and talk more about how your bridge is like, because everybody deserves to do what they love safely in a time that works well for them, and we all need that bridge to be supported.
Hi everyone, it's your host Mariella. I want to thank you for listening and share some ways to show your continued support. You can rate and review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. Share the show with friends and family. Buy me a coffee to help with the financial costs of running a podcast. Follow me on Instagram at newmomtalk.podcast. And finally, subscribe to my newsletter. Thank you for listening. I love that you mentioned that piece about pelvic floor being that connection, because I think that oftentimes after you've had your baby, you go for your check-in and then it's like, oh, okay, it's been 6 weeks. You are cleared. You can go and start working out. And it's easy for moms to be like, well, I used to be a runner, so I'm just going to start running, instead of easing into it and realizing like our pelvic floor just took a beating, right? There's a lot of things that have adjusted, and so it's really more about how can we strengthen that before, I don't know, running 5 miles.
Yeah, pelvic floor rehab is one thing, but I also tend to tell all my clients we have to look at the whole picture. And that's why I also encourage all moms to look at their pelvic wellness wheel. So to look at all aspects of health instead of just your pelvic floor. But pelvic floor is one thing that we as women that we have to address, because exactly what was described. So we may have vaginal delivery that compromise our pelvic floor muscles, and our pelvic floor muscles become weak after that heavy weight of pregnancy, and our whole core system has changed. So it's really important to work on that tightening and finding that core support system, especially postpartum. Yeah.
How can, with the postpartum piece, like how can moms reconnect with their bodies after pregnancy and birth, especially if their experience didn't go as planned during either the pregnancy or the birth process?
Yeah, it is a very, very big topic that we really talk about. When you mentioned that didn't go as planned, are you referring to the delivery process, or are you referring to that childcare
The
experience?
delivery
A
process,
delivery,
right? Because
yeah,
a lot of moms will have a birth plan and things don't always go according to the birth plan for
100%.
numerous reasons. So, that kind of ties in with like we lost a little bit of control, or say the pregnancy. If the pregnancy was really rough and you couldn't do the things that you loved to do because, I don't know, you couldn't get out of bed or you were put on
Yeah.
bed rest, like we lost control. So how can now we reconnect with our bodies and feel like we have a little bit more control after this experiences?
Yeah. So very, very important. So what we are describing here, it's like the experience of pregnancy, childbirth, delivery, and then childcare. So it is not just one thing or physical, it also involves emotional. So physical and emotion. So to me, for my own personal experience during pregnancy and postpartum period, definitely emotional is a huge aspect, because if we don't have that support, for some people, it could be that delivery process, it could be traumatic, because most mom, oh, I want a natural birth. I want everything go natural. But it doesn't mean that it can happen. And that's why we have to have this space to talk through it, to express it, to be honest with ourselves, how this birth experience is affecting us emotionally. That's why my work is really uh, trauma informed, expressing without allowing us to express ourselves, without being honest with ourselves how we are feeling. We cannot rehab and we cannot heal, because our nervous system remembers every little thing, every little hurt that we felt, and without releasing it, it really affects our physical health. and affects our ability to go back to doing what we love. Yeah, so thank you for mentioning that. That's very important. It's like one of those emotional trauma that we have to release first.
Yeah, and it makes sense. It's also hard to find it's hard as a parent to realize and make the time for that when you're also learning to be a parent, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's going to lead me into my next question. What are some just easy daily habits or practices that help moms in this postpartum stage that can make them feel empowered and supported both physically and emotionally?
Yeah, so I get asked this question a lot. Like, what are the simple things that we can incorporate in our life while we are constantly busy juggling with childcare and our own postpartum healing? So one thing that most people they don't want to just hear about is the breathing because they think we are naturally already breathing. Then why do we need to practice breathing? So it is the intentional conscious breathing practice that would make all the difference in our nervous system reset. And that is also the step one and foundation before we build back to our health. And before we even jump into talking about retraining our core. So another thing is also feel connected and being aware of where our pelvic floor is and how our pelvic floor muscle is doing, and also keep a journal of how we are feeling emotionally, physically. Do we have any pain or are we experiencing any leak? Like just keep a journal of how we are feeling and really start small and be connected and build that self-awareness. That would be the first step. Yeah. So be consistent and be realistic.
Thank you for that. I love also that you mentioned the breathing part because even when just thinking about what makes us kind of calm down or feel a little bit better, like I always tell my son when he's having a hard time, like, okay, let's take a deep breath in because it does make a big difference. Like, yes,
Yeah.
we're breathing, but taking those big, longer, deep breaths in really makes a big difference. So, I want to give you a few final minutes to share any other tips, suggestions, or recommendations that you may have. I'm going to have all of your information linked in the show notes. If there's anybody that wants to reach out or connect with you, they can find your info on there.
Yeah, so thank you for having me again. So I hope I am able to share some of my experience and some of my insight in this short podcast. But I think the main thing is finding like be true to ourselves and know who we are. Really give ourselves grace and the support that we deserve to have. I know we tend to have a lot of pressure, outside pressure. We want to be perfect. We want to be a perfectionist to other people. We we oftentimes don't give ourselves what we deserve. So this is a very important take home message is we have to practice honoring ourselves and also don't be afraid to share. And we don't have to take on that load of being everything to everyone. And we are in a community of support among women and we want to support one another and no one has to do this alone. Yeah.
Thank you.
Do you have anything to add or do you have any other experience that you would like to share?
Gosh, I think my biggest thing is really like when it comes to getting back into trying to feel like yourself again or that postpartum body is take it slow and ease into it, right? Like my biggest thing is be okay with buying clothes that are a little bit bigger and feel comfortable, right? Because you're in this body for who knows how long. Your body's fluctuating. You literally just birthed a human. So let it like figure out how to get back into who you're going to be.
Yeah. And I also wanted to mention some people, they think after 1 year or when their kid turn 1 year old, that they are no longer in the postpartum period, but that's really not true. When you become a mom, you are forever a mom and your body has evolved and changed and you still needed that support. So that's why I've also like built my coaching practice If you are interested in knowing more, you can take a look at my website, pelvichealthcoaching.com. Then you will get a lot more information on that. And just really to know that if doesn't matter how old your baby is, like my son is 12, I still often go back to this postpartum healing because every day, every minute, we are rebirthing ourselves, we are healing ourselves. Even though like many years pass, this still applies.
Thank you. Thank you for listening. Tune in next week for our next episode. You can find us on Instagram for more updates and tips. Be sure to subscribe wherever you listen to your podcasts and give us a review if you like us.